I'm looking for some of that hopium today. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm looking for hope. I'm looking for a reason to think that all of the craziness that we're seeing out of DC this week should make sense. And I didn't find a reason. For the record, this is not going to explain it away. But this was interesting enough that I thought I'd share. That's what most of these videos are supposed to be anyways. Things that I thought are interesting enough to share. First, note this yesterday. This is the statement of release from the White House that says they are launching a National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office. This says, for the past 4 years, the Trump administration has been committed to strengthening American leadership in AI. After recognizing the strategic importance of AI to the nation's future, economy, and security, the Trump administration issued the first ever national AI strategy committed to doubling AI research investment, established the first ever national AI research institutes, plural, and released the world's largest AI regulatory guidance, forging new international AI alliances and established guidance for federal use of AI. That last piece is always going to be the most critical one, isn't it? So the feds are now going to be using artificial intelligence, like the Minority Report. Not like the Minority Report, but like the Minority Report. Not in the functionality, but in the way that you can kind of foresee this going. Not so great. That's what I was thinking as I was reading this. But it goes on to the kind of initiatives. They're all very broad, but I just thought this was interesting timing, right? You got, at this point, when this was created and stated, 10 days, 11 days left 8 days left in the White House. What purpose does this serve on your way out to say, well, I want to be the president that's responsible for setting up an AI office? It's not that this is being started today, right? This says for the past 4 years they've been working on this. Now it's being stated. Put a pin in that, and remember the Secretary of State Pompeo was asked, hey, you're seemingly rushing all of these things out, these documents, you're releasing all these tweets, rushing to have these meetings. Seems like you're doing a lot of rushing. What's the point? And he goes, no, all of these moves late in this game are strategic and well thought out and well planned. Years in the planning in some cases. Go back to this. For 4 years, they've been working on AI, recognizing the importance for the federal government to use AI. That would include the military, right? Okay, now go with me here on this thought. But I read this today, and then I see this post from Scott Adams. On Twitter, he says, the AI running America found the most entertaining plot. Use a post-presidency impeachment trial in the Senate to give us a Trump encore. That's well written. And it is. You know what? You get a retweet for that. So this is the point here. I'm on my 3rd Twitter account, just for the record. If anyone's wondering, how is he doing? I thought you left Twitter. I did. But understand, if Scott Adams has the funny idea that AI could in some way be behind guiding the CIA, guiding the NSA, guiding military operations, and if there are competing AI computers trying to guess what the next one would be, that would be a really funny way of calling 4D or 5D chess, right? If you're playing multiple endgame theories out in seconds time, and then it's like I liken it to Doctor Strange when he's sitting in his little meditative state in the Marvel movie, and he can see all of the different timelines and only one that works. And so that's what a lot of people thought that the conspiracy movement, the big one that we're not supposed to talk about, the 17 Anons, all were behind this movement, thinking that here they were playing out to an endgame that had already been predicted and written out, that we were watching a show and you could participate or be a part of it, but that you were a cheerleader in something that was predetermined. A lot of people believe that is still the case, and they're watching the clock going, Trump's still the president for a week. We haven't seen Biden become president yet. They will say, and I don't mean to sound mocking, I have hope too. They've said, look at Pompeo. He said the Trump administrations will watch. Will and the administrations. It wasn't did and has, it was administrations will. That's plural. Those are 2 words that imply a plurality. So you can say it's a slip of the tongue, or you can say it's a Freudian slip, that he knows more than you do. Don't know. But I thought it was interesting that the Trump administration tells you yesterday, hey, we have an Office of National Artificial Intelligence. We have an initiative, actually, to control the NAII. Did I say NIAI or NAIA earlier? I don't know what acronyms are, apparently. The NAII, the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Office. Eventually, I think they're probably going to call it the NAIIO, the NIO. This is all dumb. But you can see here, this is my point. If you are telling people today publicly, you've been working on AI for 4 years at the federal level, that you want the government to be using it to defend the nation's economy, security, and all these things, what does that tell you? I mean, tell me in the comments. What do you think that should mean? What is the timing and the significance of we're now letting the people know that the federal government is and has and will continue to use AI to serve itself, to serve the people? I trust this coming from Trump. I don't trust this in the hands of others. That's a concern. Why? This is why. This is why right here. Breitbart, a little over a year ago, had a whistleblower come forward from Google saying that they were developing AI for planetary surveillance. You know who Google's owned by. And I'm not talking about Alphabet. I'm talking about the overlords that are a little bit shorter in stature generally, that buy our food and don't speak our language. Those folks. The Chinese Communist Party that runs Google behind closed doors, and maybe you doubt that. Maybe you think I'm a conspiracy theorist for thinking that, because Google's a big company. They're global. There's no way that they're run by one country, especially China. Okay? Do a little bit of research. Google went to work in China, and China said, hey, the only way we'll allow Google to operate here is if we are allowed to censor basically everything that comes through the internet into China. We have our own special Chinese intranet. It's special for China because we censor everything. We don't allow access to the outside world to Chinese people. So if Google wants to operate here, you have to operate under our rules. And Google said, okay, because otherwise China's just going to rip us off. That's what they do anyways. They rip off anything that they can't get their hands on legally. They'll just steal it. So they're just going to steal Google tech. We might as well just operate how they want. Here in the United States, Google, Twitter, Facebook, they don't care for our laws. They only follow the Chinese law because they have to, they think. Why do they think that? Why do they think that they have to follow the law in China, but they will not follow American laws here in the United States? That's a good question for someone, right? No one in the Senate asks that question. No one in the House dares to ask that question. This person was asking that question, which is why they're no longer at Google. They say the former Google senior software developer and whistleblower Zach Voorhees, you know that name, he appeared on SiriusXM's Breitbart News Tonight. This is again over a year ago, and this is the archive link because you're not going to be able to find this story anymore. It's been shadow banned and censored into non-existence if you try to Google for this search or search for this in Google. Even, I mean, clearly Google's AI for planetary surveillance doesn't come up when you try to find it on Breitbart. This says he appeared, Zach Voorhees from Google, appeared on SiriusXM's Breitbart News Tonight with Rebecca Mansour Friday to discuss Google's relationship with communist China and the company's AI project DeepMind. He has likened this to the AI Manhattan Project, DeepMind. He says that is essentially what China's main goal in operations for AI is. Says Google has gotten in trouble in the past for doing business with communist governments of China. I wanted to ask you, this is to Voorhees, were those efforts ongoing when you were with the company? Can you give us any insight into that? Because it's been quite troubling. He says, so Google bought this AI company called DeepMind. Let me just put it in plain language as to what it is. DeepMind is creating a godlike AI system that is able to ingest the available public information on the internet and make sense of it. Think of it like Amazon Alexa, except for so much more intelligent. This AI system was moved out of the UK, I believe, and placed into China, where it's been dubbed the AI Manhattan Project. What did the original Manhattan Project develop? Nuclear technology and eventually a nuclear weapon, right? What is the AI Manhattan Project developing? An artificial intelligence weapon, ultimately. That's what China wants. China has 2 billion people, and the best studies show that you could have an optimal population on the Earth of anywhere from 400 million to 2 billion people at the most. China's just under that number right now. Do you think that they care for the elitists in the United States who believe that they want to inherit the Earth and live among a depopulated Earth? Or do you think that China thinks that they would be better off dominating the Earth, conquering the Earth, using every available resource and square inch of soil to grow land for its people, and then have a prosperous Chinese world? Because that's what they want. That's what they've said. That's their clear stated their goal. Their stated goal is that. And now we hear, back to Zach Voorhees, that they have this weapon, but that's what it will be. So a project to develop AI that will be weaponized across the internet. It says it soaks up all available public information. Now, if you're China, that means any information you want, because they'll hack into it. They'll get access. Remember, China just hacked the Department of Defense, the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, all these different agencies were hacked by China. Do you think that they were not using their AI Manhattan Project to do that? And if they were able to absorb all public information and then any hackable information, any hacksaw information they got from the United States, do you think that godlike AI system isn't able to put that in place and say, okay, here are the 300 most likely outcomes for what will happen in the United States over the next 4 years, with given what we know being posted today on Facebook and on Twitter and on all these different platforms, with these accounts being strung together and threaded, and we know who's who, and that godlike AI, that omnipotent AI, can do all of that in a quantum computer in minutes or seconds. That is the point of this. Before the nuclear bomb, you thought of the biggest explosion, and before the nuke, before the hydrogen bomb, before those things, you would think of like ballistics, like artillery, shelling. Then you see something become vaporized, and not like something, but like a city. Big difference, right? So the kind of advancement that we're talking about is unfathomable until it exists and you can see it and go, whoa. I mean, imagine this what we're doing now. 150 years ago, people could never have imagined recording your own opinion, shoving it out into the ether in a video format like this, and having it actually reach somebody. No one would have thought it was even possible. How? It'd have been magic. Now it's simple. So what is this AI DeepMind doing? Creating a global surveillance that we won't run. We won't run this. You think a Biden administration is going to tell China that we need to have a hand in this, that the Five Eyes agreement needs to join and make it 6 with China? They're not going to care. They're not going to go for that. I can see my hair sticking up. They're not going to go for it. So Scott Adams says the AI that's running Twitter finds an entertaining plot. Bring back Trump. A post-presidency impeachment trial in the Senate that gives us a Trump encore. They want to hear more and more and more about Trump. Trump's not going away. Whether he's the president or not, he'll be around. He'll have a platform. He'll be on Gab, or he'll start his own, and good things will be coming. And that is if he is not president. We still don't know if the military will say, hey, the Insurrection Act was enacted by these events that occurred. You had a riot where the police couldn't stop it. You had the president announce that they needed to clear out and go home peacefully. They didn't. You now have troops all over D.C. We've now seen up to 20,000 troops in D.C. The inauguration is not supposed to be for a week. Trump says from the Alamo on the 11th, he says there's a state of emergency from the 11th to the 24th, through the 24th in D.C. That is a difference of 13 total days, and then he spoke at the Alamo. There's more symbolism there than you realize, if you didn't already realize it. So what do you think of all that in the comments? Let me know below. Like the video, share this video, grow on every alternative technology platform that is Gab, Parler when it's back up. You've got BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. I'm sure I'm forgetting another. But join them all, and then do whatever else that you can do to keep America afloat.